Today's video is sponsored by Native Sons Goods, makers of the best woven guitar, bag, and camera straps on planet Earth. And now the best is even better with a new line of hand-woven Maya Serape straps with USA organic herringbone hemp backing. Get 10% off when you use the link in the description, and remember, when you support my sponsor, you support this channel, and I sure appreciate it. Hello everybody, Brad the Guitarologist here. On this channel, we like to talk a lot about underdogs, outcasts, unsung heroes, and the proverbial little guy in the world of music, and more specifically, the guitar. One such unsung hero was Hedley Jones. Hedley H.G. Jones was born on November 12, 1917, near Linstead, Jamaica. World War I was still raging in Europe. Orville Gibson was still alive and employed, albeit in a limited capacity, in his Gibson mandolin and guitar factory in Kalamazoo. And while tubes and amplification technology were already in their fledgling infancy, the solid-body electric guitar and the magnetic pickups that would power them had not yet been dreamt of. By the early 1930s, at age 14, Hedley was already curious about music, and he built his own cello, an instrument popular in quadrille and mento, and also a banjo, which he played for the rest of the decade. His aptitude for hands-on mechanics would serve him well, and at various times he would find work as a tailor, cabinet maker, sewing machine repairman, and radio and gramophone repairman. He was also a writer and editor for two major Jamaican newspapers, the Daily Gleaner and the Jamaica Times. In 1939, inspired by the jazz recordings of Charlie Christian, he switched from banjo to guitar as his main instrument and began working on a solid wood body electric Spanish guitar, one of the very first and only guitars of its kind. On Monday, September 2nd, 1940, a year before Les Paul's Sima Hollow log experiment, the Daily Gleaner of Jamaica published this photo and caption depicting Hedley's completed solid-body automatic guitar.
Mr. H.G. Jones of Kingston, who has, after a lot of experimenting, produced the electric Spanish guitar he is seen holding in the picture. The principal feature of the guitar is its electromagnet pickup, which has been made up from a pair of horseshoe magnets and a number of stove bolts. The sound reproduction of the instrument is very good, as compared with the commercial types of electric Hawaiian guitars, a few of which are in the island. So far, Mr. Jones' guitar is the first of its kind here, and should prove a success as the maker promises to go further into that branch of electricity. Says Mr. Jones, "It's a pity that a few of our talented young men have not the push to make ourselves of some benefit to this our island, but I hope to pursue the line I have started to a real success."
Paul Bigsby's solid-body builds would not arrive for another 7 years, and it would be more than a decade before the commercial successes of Fender's Broadcaster and Gibson's Les Paul models. Even the recently discussed O.W. Appleton app guitar didn't arrive until 1941, a year after Hedley's obscure Jamaican build. In fact, the only documented solid wood body Spanish-style electric guitar that predated the automatic guitar was the 1939 Slingerland Songster Model 401, which bears a close resemblance. It is unclear whether Hedley had access to or had seen photos of a Slingerland 401 prior to designing his guitar, but he never makes mention of it if he had. Here is Hedley in a 2009 interview describing how he designed the pickups for his experimental solid wood body guitar, the first of its kind, documented outside the United States.
But then they were producing the hollow body guitars with units, which they hadn't produced a solid body. So this friend of mine challenged me, and I said, okay, I'm going to make one. And I started out experimenting. I started with some old telephone earpieces that I found with coils, small coils, admirably suited with small magnets and everything admirably suited for this sort of thing because I was an experimenter. So I used some of these units. I assembled 6 of them and tried them out on my friend's amplifier. And I heard for the first time that I heard this sound, this electronic sound, so I decided to put it in practice. So I made this the body out of solid Jamaican mahogany, and I made the head out of Jamaican rosewood, and I bought fret wire and I put the whole thing together.
Hedley also built his own specialized amplifiers for his electric guitars in the early 40s, which he also began making, along with his electric guitars for other Jamaican musicians. He even made an electric guitar for the U.S. Army's Expeditionary Band, which was stationed in Jamaica.
My electric guitar served to bring me a sort of connoisseur status among musicians of the era,
he would later say. Hedley served in Britain's Royal Air Force during World War II, where he was trained as a radar engineer, and upon returning to Jamaica in 1946, he opened his own radio repair shop, complete with a record department, supplying the island of Jamaica with records from American and British labels, including titles from calypso artists such as Lord Kitchener.
Kitch, come go to bed. I have a small comb to scratch your head. And do kitch, don't make me cry. You know I love you. You're playing shy.
In 1947, noticing a lack of capability of the PA systems of the time, Hedley set out to create what he called a hi-fi sound system that would accurately reproduce the sound of any instrument plugged into it across the audible spectrum. In 2010, he published an article in the Caribbean Quarterly describing this sound system in detail.
For this my record-selling venture, I needed top-class reproduction, so I immediately imported 2 18-inch English Celestion bass woofer speakers and half a dozen of the 12-inch heavy-duty variety. These arrived in February 1947. I mounted the woofers in bass reflex cabinets that I had constructed for them and turned to my trusted power amplifier designs to set them alive. The amplifier I had prepared was of split-spectrum design, powered by 2 RCA 807 power pentodes, designed for the modulation stages of high-frequency radio transmitters, in a 120-watt Class AB push-pull output configuration. The preamplifier section was built around active filters designed to split the audio frequency spectrum into 3 overlapping frequency components, fed into parallel connected double triode cathode followers, each with their individual volume controls. This approach eliminated the need for the proverbial tone control, and the raucous surface noises that emanated from the old PA systems with their high audio hum, used to play gramophone recordings, were on their way out. The modern split-spectrum active filter equalizer, although I did not recognize it, then had arrived.
Throughout the 1950s and 60s, Hedley was considered the preeminent pioneer of Jamaican sound system technology, and the PA systems he designed grew to thousands of watts and could be heard for miles around. For this reason, he is considered a huge influence on the development of electric Jamaican musical forms such as ska, rocksteady, reggae, and dub, a musical form which specifically relied on the ability to separate out and play just the bass frequencies from popular recordings over a sound system. In 1960 or 61, Hedley designed and built a double neck guitar, one of the very first of its kind, with a 6-string standard neck and a 5-string bass neck. This one-off double neck guitar predated the release of Gibson's famous EDS 1275 by 2 years and seems to have coincided with the first of their more obscure EBS 1250 custom models. In the 1960s, he continued to set up sound systems and installed the amplifiers in one studio, Jamaica's most famous recording facility where Bob Marley and the Wailers recorded. In later years, Hedley worked as a school teacher, a session musician, and a journalist. and he was an avid astronomer, even building his own telescopes with lenses he'd ground himself. In 1996, the Jamaica government awarded him the Order of Distinction in Music. In 2011, he received the Gold Musgrave Award for Distinguished Eminence in the field of music. His influence on the world of Jamaican music, and in particular the island's sound system culture, has been inestimable. He died in Montego Bay, Jamaica on September 1st, 2017, just shy of his 100th birthday, and a full 77 years after building one of the first ever solid-body Spanish guitars. His original automatic guitar, modified after his return from the war, now resides in the Jamaica Music Museum in Kingston. To learn more about the extraordinary life of Hedley Jones, check out the links in the description. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit subscribe, and for now, y'all take care.